Hey watercolor artists, welcome to National Parks Week. We are in Yosemite and we're going to do wildflowers in an alpine meadow. Amazing. We have lupines, we have coneflowers. The first thing we're going to do is a 6x16. I have it in a square. You guys can compose it however you'd like. I'm also doing a mini just for fun on my own on the side. But if you want the traceable to this, it's linked for free in my palette passport underneath this video. You just sign up and I send you a PDF at the beginning of every month from a new series. So this one is just the mountain face, another mountain, the line for the water, and that's it. So go ahead and trace that out. Then I want you guys to erase it lightly. And then I am going to mask out these areas that are yellow. Okay guys, my masking fluid is dry. This is one, it is sometimes a pain, but it's one time where this is really gonna make a difference. I'm using a number 12 and I'm wetting the entire background of the whole scene, over the flowers, around the sides, and then I'm gonna let that go. The colors that we have, I'm using a 12, it's a larger brush to block in everything, and then we'll get smaller. The colors that I have are listed in the palette passport, but basically I'm going to use phthalo blue for the sky, which isn't normally what I use, but I'm unifying all my 4 pictures for this month. So I want the phthalo blue turquoise to carry through. You guys can feel free to use different shades of anything you have. I have Daniel Smith. You guys use what you have. It's going to come out amazing. We're going to get in a little granite color with a Payne's gray for the peaks. We have a little brown, green. I have a Hansa yellow light that I've mixed in some red for an orange. And I think you guys are really gonna like this. Okay, that is ready to go. We're just gonna start with the sky. I don't want it too super crazy dark, but I'm gonna drop in that phthalo. And then you can get just water and go to the bottom of this, drag it across, medium wet. And this makes a beautiful gradient going down. And I'm going to avoid inside. Here's my mountain here. I'm going to get just up to the points of these. That plain water is going to help all of this drag itself down. Making sure that it is. Okay, then I'm going to dip in to a very light Payne's gray. Very light. And bring this back into the background here. Lots of water. This is the far back mountain back here. And then to that, I'm gonna add a little brown for my close-up. And you guys can do mountains in, leave mountains, don't have mountains, totally up to you. You don't need it to be a Yosemite scene. I wanna remember it, so I'm doing mine. Okay, so put in a little bit of this. I'm gonna do this one as browner. Then the granite, and then this here is the water line. So I'm actually going to bring this all the way to the water line. Don't really need a hard edge there. Actually, we can do a hard edge, and a hard edge works better when you have wet on dry. We have wet on wet, but still, if you kind of reinforce that. Works. And we're going to add just random areas of some color too, to darken this up a little bit. Okay, to darken that, guys, not too much water, more water on your brush, a little bit more pigment, and I'm just gonna, in some places, just put in here a little Payne's gray, just to give it a little texture. This is so far back, we're not really worried about it at all, but I wanted to add a little texture. I'm gonna put some more, I have, this is raw umber, and I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do the front of this mountain face as if the sun is kind of coming this way. And then I really don't want a lot of water here. So I'm making it so that it's pretty dry right now, my brush, because there's already so much water. Look guys, happy accidents. If you leave a little space there open, look, I'm gonna hold it and just kind of wiggle it there, look. And as I'm doing that, it's skipping a couple of places and leaving some nice texture. Almost like a little dry brush right now. But I want this to be, this whole part to be a lot darker. Look, we're going right over our flowers, perfect. And then maybe make a couple of places come down. This is just the hint of a mountain. Now, I'm gonna add in a little bit of Payne's gray to that. And now I am lightening it up, a little bit of blue as well, tiny bit. And then I'm gonna drop that kind of bluish, shadowish mixture into a couple places over here. See how that is? And just straight, kind of straight up and down. just randomly in a couple spots here. Maybe a little bit towards the top. We're just giving it a hint that this is a little mountain peak back here. Look at that, I like that texture a lot. I really do. Okay, and then I'm gonna do some sap green and really just kind of drop this into a couple places because I want this to be really light back here because there's some trees and like evergreen tree line back here. And not everywhere. I'm gonna leave a little white in some places. Then I'm gonna darken that with a little brown into that and then make a couple of just like little hints that there's foliage back there. That's it, guys, for the whole background. It's gonna be amazing. This can mix here, it's fine. I'm gonna put some green up in here, a little bit. We don't wanna get it too muddy, but I do want that in there. And then I'm gonna leave maybe a little bit more dark under here, look. That's good. And I'm gonna leave a lot of that open down here. Just kind of loose, guys. Okay, let's go to the water here. So for that, I'm gonna get phthalo blue and I'm mixing that with a little yellow because I want a really nice turquoisey color. So I'm gonna get that across. Now, the lake is really more blue than turquoise, but like I said, I'm unifying the palette and I have one from the Narrows that is really kind of turquoisey and I just kind of want to do that. And then let's bring some of that forward and I'm going to make this on a diagonal, guys, so that this part is the green and bring that down. I might go into some regular blue as well, just a little back here. By regular blue I mean ultramarine. We'll put that up in there. And then I'm just taking my brush sideways on the belly and dragging it across. Gonna leave some parts open in here. Remember, I'm going on a diagonal this way. So this part up here will be the water. This part we're gonna do green in a second. I just added some green. This is not the Caribbean. I'm making it look like the Caribbean. It is an alpine lake, but guess what, guys? It's our painting, our mojo. If we want that, we can have it. Okay, drop some more in. And then let's let that dry for a second before we add our next thing. Okay guys, in the front on this diagonal, let's go ahead and do a lemony green. This is just hinting at the foreground. So I'm gonna do it diagonally this way and just cut off that bottom edge. You can drag it straight across. I'm just gonna have it go little bit diagonal and then we can put in a couple of darker just splotches here and there. So this is sap green and I'm just putting a couple of touches of that. And we're gonna hint at just a bunch of foliage in there. Okay. And then we are getting ready while you have this green on. Let's dab in a couple of places over here too, just a little darker. Just at the underneath of that tree line. A little bit of those. I'm just dabbing in for a little darker bottom there, edge. And then I want also, I put a little Payne's gray. And I'm just gonna add a little darker shadow in a couple places here, maybe. I'm gonna put a little of this. I put a little blue with Payne's gray. I'm gonna go back up in here in a couple of places. And here, maybe make a little triangle. And a little bit down here. Okay guys, while we're letting that little front part dry, I've gotten a little bit of purpley blue with a little Payne's gray. And I want to really kind of neutralize that purple a little bit. And then we're just going to I'm using the side of my brush. I have an 8. I'm just going to drag a few areas down. And like there's some white in the, and this sort of make it look a little snow-cappy still. Because even in the summer and the high Sierra. There's still some. And then this, just kind of make little random marks. Little couple dots in there with the tip of your brush. There we go, that's all we need. Okay, and then one more for the back area if we want to add a little bit of shadowing. I got that purple from over here and I added some brown. And I want to make it look a little even stronger in some of these places. I want that to be a brownish, purplish. And then let's find a couple of places where it might have like mountain crags and little spots, little diagonal motions here. Maybe we can do like a little triangle here. I need more. I have too much water on my brush, so it's not appearing. I've just dabbed some off. Maybe this is where I was going for this triangle here. And then a couple of dabs in here. And then over here, let's see. Yeah, this is dry enough now. Let's get straight Payne's Gray. And a little brown into that. And I'm gonna drop that in a couple places sideways. Let's go this way down. And then let's just drag it around. Leave a couple of areas here open so that the stone is showing through in some places. Go right behind this flower. And let's do the whole front of this. There we go, in there. And then I also want to darken it a little bit under here, under these flowers. That'll make these pop too. And then that will dry and look nice. Now let's take the same color and just do a couple of dots coming down. We're just making some more texture. Okay, let's let all that dry, and that'll dry a little lighter for us in it. Guys, I'm gonna mark off with, I have this 1/4 inch tape that I use around. I'm just marking off the very edge line of the lake, and I just want it to be dark in there, so I'm leaving that for a clean line. So I'm gonna get a little darker strength of my blue. I have a little blue and I mixed in a little Payne's Gray, and then I'm gonna run that just along the edge of this tape to make a nice crisp line. You don't need it, but I wanted to do it on this one. And then we can bring a little bit of that forward too with some water, clean water on the brush. There we go. And then we'll pick up the tape. Voila. Okay. Okay guys, for the lupine, go ahead and grab a smaller brush. I have a 6 and that should be good for these. I'm gonna use the point. And take your phthalo blue, your turquoise, get a turquoisey blue, a little mixture in with that with some lavender, and let's build those pretty simply wet. So we have our, you can kind of still hopefully see where some of your lines were. Let's just drop a little bit of it in. And this is our first layer, and I really want this to be a little more purple. They're not like the Texas bluebonnets, they're specific. So I'm going to get a little more purple, sort of just make little hearts. That way. This one, as they go out, they kind of do look like little hearts coming down. And make them a little larger as we get towards the bottom. 2 little sideways hearts. And strengthen your color here and there. It'll flatten out a little as we get here, so they're not hearts going straight out, they're kind of now curving up a little. There we go. And then we'll get a little darker concentration of all that, maybe even a little, we want to get a dark strength of a couple colors. I just dabbed in an ultramarine blue into the center of these little hearts, not all, and some of them. And at the top, here's a fun hint. We're gonna dip in a little bit of sap green to make this top part. And then as we're in the sap green, let's put that just at the little bit of the edge of a couple, like right there and here. And then we'll also make the stalk go on the tip leave some space. We don't need it everywhere, just hinting. And I'm gonna curve mine down this way. Perfect. And then we'll add a little bit more to this, even a little darker green in a second. And then maybe one more pass. I'm gonna make a couple of these bigger at the very bottom here. We could add a couple. Now, I want you to find where you're doing yours. I'm doing one here, two inside here, and one here. And then we're gonna come back. So the same way, build it light blue, drop some dark in, and then here with the first pass of the sap green, and then we can also, while it's still wet, drop a little darker green into the bottom of that. Okay, so go ahead and do those in there, here, 3 larger stalks and a couple of smaller. Okay, now get either your fingers, if you marked it off with your masking fluid, or I have a masking fluid remover kind of gum thing that I'm gonna scratch across here. Careful that even the areas around it and underneath are completely dry, or it will tear it up and make a huge mess. You're gonna have to rub kind of hard. I did a huge layer of this stuff. So there you go. We've got our pristine white, so it's gonna be awesome for the flowers. See how amazing? Okay, I'm not gonna have you watch me remove all these, but go ahead and do that. You can use your finger, you can use whatever. If you've used the masking fluid, use whatever will pull it up without damaging your paper. Okay guys, pristine white is showing through. Amazing. I'm gonna get a small brush I'm gonna get a 2, and I'm gonna use this pretty strong strength of this for the coneflowers. This is a brownish, and I mixed in a tiny bit of red. So let's just dot it. We're just making little dots. So fun. And then we're going to do that for all of our coneflowers, but get a darker strength of your brown and go ahead in, and we're gonna drop that into the other side. Dot, 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 and along the bottom, dot, 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 dot. I'm literally just dotting tiny bits. Okay guys, get your yellow. I've got Hansa yellow light, and we're gonna do white on dry. And we're going to just get our first pass on all of the petals. Now, we can touch it to this brown and pull down a little bit. Look at that, we kind of want that to happen because it's gonna look, let's wet it a little bit and pull it down, and it's gonna add a few streaks in there, which is perfect. Okay, same over here. We want this to be some pretty bright yellow, but it's our lightest first little pass. We're gonna add a little bit in, we're almost done. It doesn't have to be the same on every one. You can vary it a little bit. Last shadow on this. For color theory, I am mixing a little bit of purple into my yellow to make the shadows. So I have this yellow that has now been shadowed. So I'm coming under here, and I'm gonna put that in a couple of places up here. Definitely around the center. And then on a couple of them, I'm gonna really, where the sun might be like this way, and you get almost that whole thing. Okay guys, it's looking awesome. We're gonna add stems to that. Go ahead and grab green. The same thing as the others, I'm gonna just drag it down, holding it. I might make these, I don't know, a little skinnier than the lupine, just so they look different. So I'm gonna have this one a little thinner, a little more graceful stems. They're gonna be, some of them will be curving. And this one will come this way. You need more green. And we're gonna add like a little bit darker green to some of these if you like as well. We can also, guys, we are gonna add some leaves. You can do that. I'm gonna make them super simple. Let's do that now. We'll add some leaves, and then I will come back and do that on my own. Let's just do random. Like some stalks. I'm just going up. Look, I'm taking my brush on the side and just adding a couple of things in here. I'm wiggling it a little bit and just putting in leaves. And then I'm also going to make some stalks, just some greenery, just go up. And I'm getting darker green here because this is really in the front. So we're gonna get a lot of sort of darker in here. We can't just have these things hanging out and not have a little anchoring back here. So let's do that flick. I'm just flick my brush. You can dab to make some looking circles. We can make it look like there's different little things going here. We just want to really vary it up what's going on. Do a couple really dark because this is right in the front. The side of our stems can be darker. And for the lupine, they have kind of like star-shaped leaves, so maybe make a couple of stars with 5 petals. Let's do one over here really thin, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's it. See, that's all. We're just hinting at that. Maybe a thin stalk over here, and then that's it. We'll do one here. Okay guys, so let's do that. Finish up where you like your leaves, and then I'm going to finish that, and we will finish with a white gouache or a white gel pen. The last thing I'm going to do, I have a white gel pen. I'm just going to add a few little dabs. I always love to do this at the end. A couple little things in here. I'm going to do one at the edge here. Just wherever you think it might need. You could add a couple of lines in the flowers here and there. Okay guys, I hope you love it. Let's take a look. This is my favorite part. Oh my god, the peel and reveal. You guys, join me next week for another outdoor park national park video.